Hello, hello. Good morning, beautiful brave hearts. Thank you for showing up to BHN TV station for yet another educational moment within Doc of Detox. You know, Dr. Darrell Wolfe, he wants to teach and train first so that you can step into that sovereign role in your life, so that you can step into your life and go, hey, I have the intelligence to make these decisions on my own. And I love having all these different channels I can go to for information. And so BHN TV station is one of those channels. You can count on lots of information. We've got an app that is totally free for you. We've got the library full of documents. We've got a huge manual for you that's free. Even the book that Dr. Darrell Wolfe has written, Healthy to 100, everything is free for you for a download. If you want the printed versions, head into the store. But again, I am just so happy to be here with you and yet again bring in the experts. And today the expert is with Infinite Iodine. So, Phil, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great, Sandra. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Great. Well, we love Infinite Iodine and we feel like no one can live without it. So, how do we start to explain this concept to people? Philip?
Well, all life on Earth depends on it. According to science, there was no life on this planet for the first 2 billion years. And what happened was iodide reacted with fungus, and that is the origin of life. So, fundamentally, to understand it in layman's terms, the largest reservoir of iodide on the planet is in the ocean. And if you are walking by the ocean, you're breathing iodide. Humans consume iodide and make molecular iodine in their bellies. Now, that won't happen necessarily with food so as easily with food because you're also digesting the food. And only a small portion of the acids in your stomach will convert iodide to molecular iodine. So when you're spraying infinite iodine in your mouth and the back of your throat, you're actually putting uh, an element into your mouth and the back of your throat that you make inside of your body from another element. So there's three forms of iodine needed in every healthy cell. And that is iodide, which will provide for the general health and reproduction of the cell. The T3, T4 hormone, well, the T3 is what goes to the nucleus of every cell in your body to regulate the life and the function of every cell. You've got 35 plus trillion cells in your body. Every single one of them needs a T3 hormone to go to the nucleus of the cell. If that doesn't happen, that cell is a car without a driver. So it's still a complex molecule, but it doesn't have its proper function. And that can create a lot of problems. The last form of iodine required in the cell is molecular iodine. And doctors and health professionals understand the process of apoptosis, which is the pre-programmed ending of a cell cycle when its time is expired. So just to quickly understand that, you've got 200 different types of cells in your body. Some live for hours, some live for days, some months, and some years. So for example, brain cells are 200 years are the lifespan of brain cells. So our brain cells live beyond our lives. And interesting to understand what that means. Heart cells, 15 years. Liver cells, 16 to 18 months. They regenerate. So one of the things we've noticed is people using infinite iodine have somehow, I shouldn't say somehow, they've had their fatty livers start to work properly. And that makes sense to us because the regeneration of those cells, that's what iodine does. It's regeneration of cells. There's stories of the Civil War, and they were making what was called wild iodine in the Civil War. So they would actually have raw iodine in a mortar and pestle, and they would add water to that from wherever they could get it, and they would pack the wounds, whether they sever an arm or a leg, cutting off a completely destroyed limb. They would cut it off and they would pack it with iodine to keep it from getting infected. And the stories is that the appendage would grow. The flesh would actually grow, not the cartilage, not the bone, but the flesh would grow to a point. And that's because iodine is regenerative of cells. So you need it for that. Getting back to my story about the ocean. So you've got 1,000 tons of iodide that emanates off of the ocean every day, and that's what balances the earth inside of the stratosphere. So without that, we don't exist. We don't live. And it's interesting because the only time that humans consume molecular iodine in nature is when you're at the ocean and a thunderstorm rolls in and lightning strikes the ocean. And this happens 500,000 times every day. Lightning strikes the oceans around the globe. And when that happens, it converts iodide in the air into molecular iodine in the ozone. And if you're close to the ocean when this occurs, you're actually breathing molecular iodine. Remember when people were convalescing, we would send them to the sea to convalesce, and that's why. And when there was a lightning storm, everybody that could walk, or those that were in wheelchairs, they would bring everybody outside to be outside during the lightning storm as best they could to breathe some of that molecular iodine, because it's very, very healing. And so when you're spraying infinite iodine in the mouth and the back of the throat every day, you're giving yourself the micronutrient that you need to make those T3, T4 hormones, and those are life. That's life. If you don't have a thyroid, or you have a dead thyroid, and you cannot get a synthetic drug of synthetic T3, T4 hormones, so that would be Synthroid, levothyroxine is the generic name now because that's off patent. It's the most prescribed and the most taken drug on the planet, actually. And so if you don't have a thyroid or you have a dead thyroid, you have to have that drug to survive. If you don't have that drug, you're going to die between 6 months and 2 years is about the average. And it's going to be a terrible death because you're going to be listless. It's, some people will say, oh, that person died of a low thyroid. And in fact, I'm now starting to hear stories about people who have died of a low thyroid. That's the cause of death. And I know one person that just told me a story about their father who didn't like doctors, didn't trust doctors. And so he decided that he needed to look after this for himself. And what he did was he bought nascent iodine. And we've been concerned about the product that's sold called nascent iodine, because what that is it's atomic iodine. It's a single positively charged iodine molecule. And what that means is that your thyroid is now taken out of the equation. So what normally happens in the body is your thyroid pulls iodide out of the blood as the blood supply goes past the thyroid every 16 to 18 minutes, and converts it in the thyroid, converts the iodide into atomic iodine, and then it attaches atomic iodine molecules to the T3, T4 hormones. The 3 and the 4 are iodine molecules. So when you're taking nascent iodine, you're bypassing the function of the thyroid, first of all. So just let that sink in for a minute. You're no longer going to be using this vital gland that without it you could die. And what we've been saying to the people that make nascent iodine, because we've talked to them, is that they make claims based on molecular iodine. And we're telling them they can't do that, because what molecular iodine is 2 positively charged iodine molecules that are attached together, I2. And when we spray infinite iodine in the mouth and the back of the throat, we're killing bacteria, we're deactivating viruses, and the conversion happens in nature that I2, that two positively charged iodine molecules that are attached together, break apart when they kill bacteria or deactivate a virus. And what they break apart into is iodide. And so our body can use iodide and convert it within the body. When you're taking nascent iodine, or also known as atomic iodine, you're bypassing the thyroid. You've got a high electrically charged, positively charged iodine molecule. We don't know how that's going to be in the body. We've had people tell us that have taken nascent iodine that they felt a lot of energy from it. And we're thinking, okay, well, that's interesting to note, but no scientific work has ever been done by any scientist on nascent iodine. A lot of it is theory, and the arguments we get, we do not accept because it's theory. There's no science to back it. And just having met this person recently whose father died of a low thyroid, it made me realize, okay, this is some of the stories that we're going to start to hear, because nascent iodine was invented in the 30s. I won't get into the whole story about it, but it was put on the shelf 10 years later because they couldn't find a use for it. And then in the 80s, people started to make it. They said, this is the most bioavailable iodine. How could it not be? Well, it turns out that maybe it's not. And we've been asserting that for the last 5-6 years to people making it. We know the problems with potassium iodide already. Lugol's is something that I have a lot of people argue with me that it's more powerful, it's cheaper, it's better. Well, what you need to know about that technology is, first of all, it's 200 years old. It's massive amounts of iodine in one drop. You're looking at 18 milligrams combined with molecular iodine and potassium iodide. And what you need to understand about Lugol's is that the potassium iodide is 2/3 to 1/3 molecular iodine. There is molecular iodine in Lugol's, so it is very powerful. It will kill. The problem is that the potassium iodide that was used in the solvent was used to dissolve iodine in the solution. And if you Google how do you make molecular iodine, all the science books say that it has to include acid, it has to include like a potassium iodide, which is a form of acid. It's a form of dilution of the iodine to make it mix. And what we've created with infinite iodine, we were just in the United States putting together our iodine generator in the lab there, and the chemist in the company came into us on the 4th day and said, "So what else is in there?" And we said, "What do you mean what else is in there?" And he said, "Well, it can't just be iodine and water, because you could only make a 2 to a 3 ppm iodine without using other surfactants." And we nodded our head and we said, "We know. The science books say it's impossible to make what we're making." And what you're offering to your clients, your customers, is an incredibly unique product. It's a 21st century iodine technology that many doctors have called a broad spectrum oral vaccine. And why they say that is because nothing will kill bacteria or deactivate a virus like iodine. I've been leading lectures on iodine for over 5 years. And I got to say, my favorite part of the lecture is the end. And what I say to them is, I said, remember when Donald Trump said maybe we could inject a disinfectant into our body to clear a virus? And even the people that love Trump roll their eyes and say, yeah, I wish he didn't say that, because in their minds, he said bleach. And that's the crazy part about it, is that human beings hear disinfectant and they think of bleach, they think of chlorine, they think of ozone, they think of peroxide. All of these are oxidizers. And what iodine, why it's unique in the world of natural killers for being an antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal, is that it will leave inert material intact. So when it kills a pathogen, it will actually go around the cell, deactivate the pathogen, and leave the cell intact. You've got 4 immune system warriors in your body right now. You've got macrophages, and that's like a jellyfish. It envelops a cell and completely destroys it. That's how a macrophage kills a bad cell. A natural killer cell, same thing. It'll destroy the cell. It will leave nothing behind, no information for the body to then protect itself from those cells. And then you've got T cells, similar. Molecular iodine in the body is number 4. And I'm talking to physicians that don't even speak about it because they don't understand it fully. And when I speak to them about it, they say, oh, that makes sense. What molecular iodine will do is it will kill within the cell, but it's needed for the cell's health. And it converts into iodide, which provides for the reproduction of the cell and the general health of the cell. So it's a cyclical element in the body, and the body can convert it back and forth. As far as the understanding goes, when it comes to molecular iodine, is that when it kills bacteria and deactivates a virus, it breaks apart into iodide. That's nature. And when when humans intervene and try and make that happen with an unnatural process of hitting it with a high electrical charge, it breaks apart into I positive, which the body can't use in the same way. The only place that atomic iodine occurs in the body is the conversion that happens at the thyroid. So you need to understand that the body can use iodide. It can actually use molecular iodine. And the body has a thermostat inside of it that it turns up 17 times when it's injured or when you've gone in for surgery. 17 times it turns up the molecular iodine to go to that area to protect itself, to fix itself. And that's what molecular iodine does. It repairs. We were talking to a doctor in Israel who was doing work with chemotherapy and iodine as an adjuvant for chemotherapy. And what he discovered was that the tumor that is holding the bad cells within it, these are cancer cells. What makes up the wall of the tumor that's holding those bad cells is a high concentration of molecular iodine. Makes up the cells of that wall around the tumor. And what happens is that when chemo comes to the tumor, when people are taking chemo, the mycoplasma. Pardon?
Oh no, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I thought you were needing clarification.
No, sorry. I was imagining what you were talking about. Yes.
Yeah. So the mycoplasma around the tumor changes the bacterial nature, or the cancer cells change the bacterial nature of the blood, such that the blood around the tumor pokes holes in chemo, so that when the chemo reaches the tumor, it doesn't penetrate the tumor to do what it's designed to do.
Can't get in.
And we all know that chemo will destroy good cells as well as bad cells. So unfortunately, you're introducing a poison to your body. The science on chemo is actually really, really good. The problem is that body's figured out a way to protect itself from the chemo. And the cancer cells also want to survive. So they communicate with the blood and change the bacterial nature of the blood so that it pokes holes in the chemo, so the chemo can't penetrate the tumor to take out the cancer cells. This is what this Israeli scientist was I guess surmising from the studies that he had done. And what the study concluded was that if you take iodine, if you supplement iodine more, it will allow the chemo to do its job. So his theory was that the more iodine that you have in your body will disable the cancer to communicate with the blood to change its bacterial nature to poke holes in it. And again, these things are incredibly complex, and how they know to even theorize this is beyond me. But I'm just looking at the study saying, okay, iodine is an adjuvant for chemo treatment. So even if you're going to do the chemo treatment and possibly radiation, if you take more iodine, it's going to be an adjuvant. And it makes us think that, is it possible that just taking the iodine would do that? And there's a study that was done up in Canada in, I think it was in the late 80s, 87, 88, 89. Two doctors, Ghent and oh gosh, I can't think of the other gentleman's name at the moment. Anyways, Ghent is spelled Ghent. And I lost a link to this study for about 8 months. And I looked and looked and looked for it. And I had somebody suggest that I do an AI search for it. So I went on to Chat GPT and I punched it in and I found it. And so it's back on my website, not as a link, but as the actual study. So it won't be able to be removed. And the great thing is that when I did the search, I read the study again and refamiliarized myself with it. It spoke of over 4,000 women drinking 6 milligrams of infinite iodine every day for 6 months. These women had fibroids and fibroid cysts. Okay, this was a blind placebo study. So 2,000 women had the placebo, 2,000 women had the molecular iodine. The molecular iodine group, after 5 months, 98% were fibroid and fibroid cyst free. So fibroids and fibroid cysts leading to breast cancer. And what was really fascinating about what I found in the Chat GPT study was that these doctors patented their protocol. And the patent ran out in 2006. And so we're working with patent lawyers right now on 100% natural vaccine. We're going to kill a pathogen with iodine. We're going to separate out the pathogen, and we're going to deliver it in a nasal spray up in the nose. So we're introducing a deactivated pathogen that is fully intact, because that's what iodine can do. We're going to deliver it up in the nose, and then we're going to look for the immune response in the animals we're going to do this with. And this could be for humans. We could be having 100% natural vaccine with nothing but natural products, just iodine and a dead pathogen, an actual true vaccine for any pathogen. So, we were going to do COVID-19 to start, because, this is the most prevalent virus that's around. There's another one I've just read about that's actually coming. It's been in Asia for a number of months, that apparently is just landing in America, another pathogen. But we're also looking at blood transmitted pathogens like dengue. The dengue fever pathogen, or I don't know if it's I think it is a pathogen, is transmitted by mosquitoes. And there's other viral infections that are transmitted by blood. And those types of pathogens, it would be incredibly useful to vaccinate for, because how else are you going to do it? With airborne pathogens like COVID-19 everybody's getting it, that is going to get it. Those people that are asymptomatic, they have strong immune systems, and that's why they're not experiencing the symptoms like everybody else is. Their immune systems are fighting it off. It doesn't mean you're always going to have that strong of an immune system. But getting back to my story about what we're doing with this vaccine is that the product that you are selling to people, that you're offering to people with infinite iodine, is a broad spectrum oral vaccine just on its own. In fact, all the work that we're doing with the development of this vaccine is really to help facilitate the production, the larger production of infinite iodine that we can be spraying in our mouth and the back of our throat every day to achieve our 150 micrograms, 5 sprays. I take a lot more than that every day. I'm 60. I think I need more iodine. I certainly need more hormone production at this stage of my life. So, by the way, I've drank 4 ounces, 125 mils of infinite iodine at least 10 times in a 24-hour period. And on those days, I felt nothing but incredible energy. I just felt like I was Superman, to be honest. So it is a natural, 100% natural element that, if you take too much of it, your body will process it out. Unlike a potassium iodide. Potassium iodide is a problem. Oh, by the way, in that Ghent study that I found, one of the things that I keep mentioning to people is that what makes up a fibroid cyst, 55% of it is potassium. So when we saw that study 3 or 4 years ago, Terry Mullins and I said to each other, wow, okay, maybe people are trying to solve a problem with their thyroid with a potassium iodide product, and it's creating a new problem. Because for women especially, women need more iodine than men. Women make human beings inside of them. And when a woman is pregnant, she needs 50% more iodine in her diet daily. And that's because of the T4 hormones, so the only hormones that cross the blood-brain barrier to the development of the IQ, central nervous system, and skeletal structure of her child, of the fetus. So the fetus starts out as one cell, and by the time it's born, it's 20 trillion cells. And in that full development that happens, when you look at a fetus at I think the 6 to 8 week period, it's super tiny, but you can see little fingers forming. All of this is happening. And it's those T4 hormones that are crucial to the child's IQ. So women need 220 micrograms when they're pregnant, 290 when they're breastfeeding. So an adult needs 150 micrograms according to the FDA and Health Canada. It's a global recommendation. We think it's higher, but we'll go with the global recommendation. We're not going to fight that. But we know that women need more. What's interesting to us is as we speak to physicians about this, they'll say to us things like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Very rarely do physicians ever tell women when they're pregnant and breastfeeding that they need to take more iodine because it's crucial for the child's IQ. Come on. What is happening here? So, when it comes
in their defense, Terry, they don't think they have a safe enough version to give people because, right? And maybe they're not just making that connection.
Yeah, that's possible. I think it's far more, it's far worse than that. I don't think that they understand nutrition, doctors, typically. And they're just not taught that. They're taught a lot, but they're not taught about what we're consuming. And, I'm learning every day about foods that I'm consuming. I've been eating a lot of red peppers lately because of the vitamin C, and I love it eat it with hummus. And of course, I need the protein. I tend to be very active. I play sports. I work out in the gym. I'm 60 years old. And when I'm playing with my grandchildren, I want to play with them. And it's not, I'm not a passive grandfather. I'm getting in there. I'm training. I've got a 14-year-old grandson who is a long distance runner, and he just got smoked by a bunch of other kids in a meet, and he was really upset, because he always wins, but he came in fourth in this 1500 meter. And I said to him, well, what you're going to need to work on is you're going to need to work on your glutes and your hamstrings because you need more power. You need to run faster. He can run long distances forever. He's got a great long stride. And it's these kinds of things that I think we all want to be. We all want to have more energy. We all want to have, a long life, but we want a good quality of life. We want to be vital into our 60s and our 70s and our 80s. And the one thing I've been reading a lot of, I just read a paper from a Dr. Miller, and what he was dismissing was the myth that we can OD on iodide, because in our culture we're told 1100 micrograms is the max. The Japanese eat on average 12 milligrams of iodide every day in their diet. They have the lowest rates of cancer. They have the lowest rates of breast cancer, almost none at all. They have the lowest rates of heart disease. I think they live on average 7 to 8 years longer. But the quality of life in Japan is very, very high. They're just they've got something in their diet that is making them this way. And everything that I can see points to the seaweed, the sea products, the raw fish, that they're eating. And, the problems that they face in Japan are more related to the toxins that unfortunately are in the plants and in the oceans, because we've indiscriminately, we've allowed, let's say, bureaucrats, politicians, have allowed large corporations to indiscriminately pollute our planet. That's our biggest problem with the climate crisis. I've been working with this for 45 years because I've raised a lot of money for conservation in the last 45 years. I'm an art dealer. That's what I've done my whole life. And I work with artists who paint animals and birds. So it became this natural thing for us to raise funds for conservation, to leave places for nature. And the climate crisis, as it's been outlined, is nonsense. It's not fuel burning cars. It's not cow farts that's the problem. It's the pollution of the planet. And if it weren't for that, we would be in a lot better shape. So the consuming of fish and sea plants, unfortunately, has a lot of contaminants with it. Infinite iodine is a pure iodine source. And so, especially for people that don't want to eat fish or sea products, which a lot of people don't, they can just take our product. It's very easy to take, and it will give them all that they are looking for. And in Canada, we can only claim thyroid support. With Health Canada, that's the restrictions. That's all we can say. In America, we get to say thyroid support and immune system support. And with the immune system, just very quickly, it's primary because it will kill bacteria, deactivate viruses. We can't claim that as a supplement, but everybody knows that it does it, even the FDA. But it's the secondary immune system support that it's doing, in that it will leave inert material intact so that the body can make antibodies for it. The immune system support that we can claim as a supplement isn't specific to those actions. Those are side effects of infinite iodine. But what's interesting is in Europe, we can also say cognitive function. So when you take infinite iodine, it livens the brain. You can experience that. And I was just recently asked by a client if molecular iodine will cross the blood-brain barrier. And my first instinct was, yes, absolutely, it must, because it livens the brain. And it's fairly quick that it happens. Iodine is the third fastest moving molecule on the periodic table. And by far, it's the fastest moving molecule that we need to survive. There's a lot of science that points to that it's more important than oxygen. In fact, the reason that they say that is because there's a squirrel in Alaska that requires iodine to survive the winter because its heart rate slows down so much that it's actually not breathing anymore. It's the iodine that's keeping it alive. And as a mammal, that's very unique. I don't know if that study's on our website or not, but it's an incredible study. And of course, when it comes to the origins of life, I heard about that about 10 years ago about mushrooms. I was listening to a mushroom expert saying that mushrooms were the origin of life, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. And I listened to the science of it. I've now understood that it's the reaction of iodide and fungus together that had life begin on Earth 2 billion years after the existence of our planet. Pretty incredible.
Pretty incredible.
Wow,
Well,
did I ever ramble on there?
You've got lots of excitement. Yes, we intended to not go this long, but we just can't stop all this good information, right? You've lit up the chat on Facebook. Definitely, Daryl will want a copy of that information and that study if we can get that. But
Absolutely.
People are just thanking you. Fabiola, amazing. You got this. Keep up with faith that you are creating light and unconditional love with this new V. So people are loving it and they're like, where's that information? We need it. One comment is it okay to take if someone has Hashimoto's? Well, we know they need a good immune system. So we know that this is the only.
I understand Hashimoto's far better now than I have ever understood it. And Hashimoto's is a hormone imbalance. What happens is there's too many, too little, too many, too little of the T3, T4s. And so what we understand about our iodine, infinite iodine, is that we've had customers, clients that have said to us that they could never be warm. And that's a hormone imbalance, that they're always cold. And after taking our product for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, the temperature of their body starts to normalize and they're no longer cold. And so Hashimoto's is directly related to a hormone imbalance, and you require more iodine. When it comes to Graves', what we suggest to people for Graves' disease is that they start with 1 or 2 sprays a day, because Graves' is too many T3, T4 hormones. What we suggest to those people is that they eat more cruciferous vegetables, because that will slow the production of T3, T4 hormones. So that's Brussels sprouts, cabbage, broccoli. Look up cruciferous vegetables, find the ones that you like and eat them regularly. It will slow your thyroid production down. And, that's, we want to do things naturally. And somehow, what happens is for most people, it's a low thyroid. Hypothyroidism is the big problem. And that's why Synthroid is the most sold drug on the planet. But Hashimoto's is also a very difficult condition. It's a hormone imbalance. You need to and don't expect your body to regulate right away. This is something that you've been depriving yourself of, and you need to introduce it, and you need to introduce it slowly. So 3 to 5 sprays, is going to give you 90 to 150 micrograms. We think that that's a good RDA, recommended daily amount or recommended daily indication of what you should take for an adult. What's interesting about the RDA of iodine, and I actually spoke directly with somebody at the FDA about this because we were working on recommendations on our product. And an infant, so a newborn to a 1-year-old, it says 130 micrograms is what they require. That's the recommended daily amount. And when that child turns 1 till they're 4, it drops to 90 micrograms. And we're curious about that. We think that probably we should all be taking more iodine than the RDA anyways. But an adult is 150. So a newborn to a 1-year-old is 130. An adult is 150. A 1-year-old to a 4-year-old, it states, or I think it's 4 years old and 9 years old. Anyways, it's 90 micrograms. So we know that the brain is developing until the age of 2021. So it's crucial for your child to get iodine or iodide, and when you use the molecular iodine, it will convert. It'll kill bacteria, deactivate viruses. I mean, what kid doesn't need that every day? Kids are little germ factories. They're bringing home stuff every day. If they're spraying every day, give them a couple sprays before they go to school. Give them a couple sprays when they come home. You know, um, uh, anti disinfect them and start
That's
the body for their brains, for their central nervous,
exactly. And
for
then
their
just
focus.
quickly say what a pregnant lady or a lady that's wanting to become pregnant, what should she be doing?
Well, always increasing those T4 hormones. Women can't get pregnant without T4 hormones. And so 5 years ago, when we first started this project with selling this product, I worked with my homeopath, and she was very excited to get it. And I said, at the time when we first started the project, funnily enough, we were going to use it for foot nail fungus because iodine would be an excellent product to soak toes in to kill foot nail fungus. The best product. There's other protocols that you can do for that, but it would be the best way to do it. And I asked her, I said, what are you going to use it for? Foot nail fungus. And she laughed at me and she said, well, I can use it for foot nail fungus, but I'm going to use it for everything. And I said, what do you mean everything? And she said, well, I'm going to use it for colitis. I'm going to use it for Crohn's. I'm going to use it for diverticulitis. I'm going to use it for cancer. I'm going to use it for women that are having problems getting pregnant. I'm going to use it for women that are getting pregnant. I'm going to use it for women that are breastfeeding. I mean, she educated me. She educated Terry and I on all of what it would be great for. And even she had so many clients that had thyroid problems. So for sure, it's for a thyroid problem.
Perfect. Okay. Well, you have lit up the chat. We're so happy we're here. We've got such high level collaborations happening all the time. And so we're super thankful for this collaboration with you guys. We're happy that the company and the business is looking forward and always trying to expand. And I'm super glad. I was super happy to meet Sean last week. So the family connection in the family or in the business is alive and well, going to keep going for generations ahead. So thank you. Part of me just wants to keep talking to you all day long, but we've got to keep going, and I'm sure you've got a busy day. So thank you so much for being there. Thank you for, I don't know, the spirit that made you, the spirit that made Terry, and Dr. Dara Wolfe, because somehow that all collided, and now we get the benefit of talking about the only true safe oral vaccine. So that's super exciting.
Yeah, I feel very privileged to get to speak to all of you, and I feel privileged to be partners with you in doing the work that you're doing. And I know that we are awakening. And I recently spoke with somebody about what I was doing with this project with molecular iodine, because we have different technologies that we're working with. We have an airborne technology, an atmospheric iodine, that we can actually infuse iodine in the air in a hospital, in any building where there's housing a lot of people, schools, and it would reduce the airborne pathogens in the air for sure. It would increase productivity and ingenuity. All of the reasons why it would be a great way to do it. Anyways, I was talking to this person about it, and they said, oh, you're going to be a big part of getting us from 3D to 5D. And when they first said it to me, I didn't know what 5D was. And I realized that I guess I've been on the path of 5D since I was a small child. My father was a really creative thinker. So he was a jet engine mechanic. And my father worked on a project back in the late 50s called the Avro Aero. It was a warplane. It was a jet engine warplane. And it was 20 years ahead of its time for its speed because it reached Mach 2 in 1957. And not only that, but it was one of the most incredibly engineered aircrafts ever built. And it's a tragedy, the story, actually, because it was completely scrapped. The whole project was scrapped. And then after that, my father put Velcro together up in Canada. And so Velcro was an American company. It was an American, I think it was an American invention. But my father put together the product sales for Velcro in the 70s. And then when I was about 8 years old, my father decided to start to really take a look at what it was to be a human being and to actually choose how you wanted to be as opposed to just being a stimulus response mechanism. And so that's been my life, is looking at what it is to be a human being and a part of God. And I mean, absolutely, you know, I feel that there's an energy that I can possibly be an open conduit for to come through. And I love a story. I'm a musician and I've written a lot of music and I play guitar and I love to play songs that, you know, great artists have written, and because there's such a power in that. And one of my favorite guitar players is Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones, who wrote some pretty amazing songs. I mean, to me, when I hear Satisfaction, it just, you know, I become electrified by the song. And Keith was asked this question when he was in his 30s. I think some reporter said to him, you know, what about writing songs? You know, what kind of happens for you when you write songs? And Keith, you know, in his lovely wisdom said, oh, I don't know if I've ever written a song. I've mainly probably only ever been an open conduit for them to come through. So what Keith was saying was that God was coming through him, and he was just being open enough for that to come through. And that's what I'd like to see. And that's 5D, by the way, people. If you don't know what 5D means, it means that you're going to trust your natural knowing. It means you're going to trust your connection to the infinite. You're going to trust your connection to what we all make up as God. We are all a part of God. God is going to possibly come through us if we're open enough for that to happen. And iodine, for me, what it does, I guess, is it opens my third eye. It gives me the ability to speak and see and be an open conduit for beauty and love to come through. And so thank you for allowing me to be a part of what you're doing and who you are and getting us all to 5D. I said to Terry when we started this project with molecular iodine, and I spoke to my homeopath and she was telling me all about it. And I knew that it was incredibly important for the intellect. And I said, wow, this is going to make us all smarter. And it's not about being smarter as in craftier. It's about being more open and more loving and more considerate to each other, which is what we really need on the planet right now. It's like all of the wars and all of the things that are happening, all the coercion, all of the manipulation, that needs to fall away. Those people that are doing that need to get hurled off of this ball that we're all on, spinning around on. And hopefully that's where 5D is going to get us, is that those people are no longer going to have a place here with us.
Right. So somehow just like an image of kind of a star, right? Yeah, maybe you've got the knowledge of the craftiness, but you've got that emotional balance to say, okay, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to apply that knowledge in this way that's going to benefit everybody. So somehow full compass, full on knowing and awareness, emotional connectivity. This is where we're going. This is what we all need. And who knew we'd get to this conversation when we were talking about iodine? I guess obviously you do. You knew that possibility was there. I knew it was great for so many different things. But to sit in this moment and realize what we have at our fingertips on what we can do simply by spraying 5 sprays of infinite iodine in the back of our throat, at least once a day, 2 to 3 times. So thanks for being on this ride. And I do need to keep going to make sure everyone in the world of Doc of Detox and BHN TV station knows what else is going on in the world. Maybe check out our IGF and our Man Up product. That might be something you want to add into your lineup. Chat with Daryl about that if you need. I do believe you've got my phone number as well. But yeah, let's everyone out there that's watching this live, I think we've all got the tingles right here at this moment. So thanks, Terry. And I need to keep going and talk to our team about what else is going on.
And just, I know I don't want to say, my name's Philip.
Philip.
And Terry is the inventor of the technology that allows us to have infinite iodine. Terry passed away in November of 2024, and when Sean and I were down in North Carolina making infinite iodine for the first time in the United States, it was very emotional for us. We were really good to each other, and Sean's a beautiful person. And it was interesting at the very end. We just really we both feel privileged to get to carry this on and bring this to the world. And I don't want to keep this going on forever, but I do believe that we've been living in a fiction for a very long time. The whole thing with banking and money is all based on something that is a fiction. And when you talk to bankers about it, they do understand what I'm talking about. And I think that we are going to get to the place where we're going to start to make sense of all of this. But when COVID started, it just didn't make any sense to me what was happening, that these health professionals weren't wanting to enable doctors to help their patients. And I thought, okay, that's wrong. And and then I connected with a lot of doctors that weren't willing to just let their patients go home without something to help them to reduce the illness. Everybody talks about the cure. It's not about a cure. It's about reducing illness when it comes to a virus. You want to reduce the symptoms so that people can get through it, because your immune system is what's going to handle the problem. A vaccine doesn't kill anything. Your immune system does that. And if anything, a vaccine is supposed to support that. And we all know that the mRNA didn't do it. The results, the proof is in the pudding. And not only that, but the mRNA isn't a vaccine. They can no longer even call it that. The drug companies that make it can no longer call it a vaccine. They can only call it a shot. And that's, we're going to get smarter. We all need to just keep taking more iodine. It'll get us more in touch with our natural knowing, and we'll know when we're being lied to.
Perfect. Well, I can't wait to meet with you again. You take care. We're gonna sign off, and I'm gonna chat with people for a few minutes. So if that doesn't give you enough tingles, we've still got more yet for you. June 8th is a BHN TV World Special. It is going to be Healers of the Faith. So Dr. Judy Mikovits, Dr. Daryl Wolfe, and 18 world leading healers. We're going to go from pillar to pillar, and we're going to keep growing and learning. Sunday, June 8th, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then we've got 2 Q&A sessions left for you Monday afternoon and Wednesday evening. Go to bhnuniversity.com.
Thank you so much, Sandra.
Oh, you're welcome.
I'm going to run, okay?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Then in July, we've got the same format. We've got Gold Care, a BHN TV World event with Dr. Dana Cranberg-Neal, Dr. Simone Gold, and Dr. Daryl Wolfe. And again, 18 world leading healers. Same format, Sunday, July 13th, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then the Q&As for this one are Monday and Tuesday. Monday afternoon and Tuesday evening. Again, sign up at bhnuniversity.com to get those links. And then what's going on in our store right now is the Braveheart Nation Memorial Day sale until Sunday, June 1st at late in the evening, up to 40% off. And so whatever sales are there, whatever products are on, the price is going to be in there. You're going to see the full retail stroked out in the sale price. So no codes needed for this sale. Now, as you can tell, that was a pretty high level show we just did, and a very wonderful spontaneous interaction with Philip. We are growing in leaps and bounds because of these types of these collaborations and these high level people that Dr. Darrell Wolfe has attracted in. Do you think that a platform that is attracting in 20,000 new brave hearts every day is going to be allowed on these Facebook channels and on these various social media channels? We hope so, but we're not entirely sure, right? So be sure to get into the bhnapp.com, the Braveheart Nation app. Nothing can shut us off for there. That is your direct link into the shows, the library under the Evolve tab, to that map of practitioners, to news and events. So definitely stay connected, stay united, because we are here for freedom, health, and healing. Okay. Let's just move to the second screen there. That's going to show all the benefits. Thank you. Track your perfect day. News and events, the New World Practitioner Map. The Evolve tab is the world's largest free online library of videos, guides, and audios for self-healing. Connect with other brave hearts around the world. And the perfect match, because we all want to find that match that feels the same way about our bodies and our sovereignty. So you do have to watch a 33-day video series to get access into the perfect match. But once you've done that, then you can go ahead and set up a little profile. And the mindful moment reminder, a wonderful Tibetan bell that you can set to go off as often as you need. And if you're in the very beginning of cracking that coconut, you maybe need that mindful moment, a reminder to go off every 5 minutes to help keep you in that present moment. So go to bhnapp.com. You can download it on your phone, a tablet, or you can open it up simply on a website. Go there to unleash your roar. Now, Dr. Sage Wolfe is quite busy. He is in Stuart, Florida right now. You'll see if you keep in contact with the Facebook page that every day they're going to show you a little bit of what's going on in the Wolfe Non-Surgical Certified course. That is happening until June 4th. Go to bhnuniversity.com again for any information. And if you want to learn how to do this world-changing, body-changing technique. And if you need to talk directly with Dr. Sage Wolfe, there's his phone number, 250-801-5673. And then after he's done that course, he's going to be sticking around there for a while to do treatments from June 6th to June 10th. I would call really quickly because I wouldn't, I would imagine that this is almost totally booked up already, but give Deborah a call, 305-342-9559. Now, Rafa, love, if you go through these slides, if you could just take my picture off, because we can't always see the phone number for the host. So if you want to just take my picture off the bottom of that corner, thank you very much. Okay, great, thank you. Calgary is his next stop. He is going to be there for June 26th to June 30th. He's also teaching a course, I do believe, right before that, the Wolfe Non-Surgical. But if you need treatments during this time period, you're going to call Lorraine to book 403-605-9216. And let's detail out what all he's doing. He's doing the Wolfe Non-Surgical and the Cell Sonic. He's going to be doing thermography, and I'm pretty sure Lorraine's almost going to be completely booked up for thermography appointments. And then when you get the thermography, you're going to get a whole consultation with that. He's going to read you the test. And it's really easy for you to do the heavy metal testing at the same time. So for Lorraine, you're going to call her at 403-605-9216. And again, Calgary treatments are June 26th to June 30th. Then he's going to move on to St. Louis, Missouri, July 6th to July 15th. You're going to call Tim to book, 479-215-9592. Occidental, California, you're going to call Cheryl to book, July 20th to July 29th, 707-322-1979. Then he's off to Los Angeles. You're going to call Narin to book, 386-631-4066, July 31st to August 7th. Back up to Montreal, Canada. You're going to call Christiane to book 438-929-0997. And then here is a little short summary of all those, showing that he's doing the Wolfe Non-Surgical right before the treatments in Calgary. And in Los Angeles, he's also teaching the Wolfe Non-Surgical August 9th to August 20th. All of these phone numbers and contact information is going to be found at bhnuniversity.com. The course, the courses for the rest of the 2025 is Wolfe Non-Surgical and the Women's Pelvic Course in Calgary, Canada. Wolfe Non-Surgical starts June 14th to June 25th, and the Women's Pelvic Restoration is June 27th to June 29th. Los Angeles, Whole Life Health Certified, September 13th to September 21st, and then the Wolfe Non-Surgical, October 8th to October 19th. Then in Ixtapa Zihuatanejo for the whole course load, the Whole Life Health Certified, October 29th, the Wolfe Non-Surgical, November 9th, the Women's Pelvic Restoration starting on November 21st and 23rd, and currently that is listed as live, in person, and online. USA financing is available. Go to bhnuniversity.com. We do all this so that you can learn how to go from patient to healer and from victim to brave heart. We also have the DOG 5-star in beautiful Ixtapa Zihuatanejo. If you'd like to go, either attend a course, set up your own personal treatment and training, your own personal certification, or just a vacation if you want to just stay in that place and experience the juicing, the lovely Mexican people, and everything that all the energy medicine devices that are there as well. Now we're on so many different social media platforms: Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube, Rumble, Telegram, BitChute, all there for you. And remember, get into that app in case any one of those sites is going to start restricting our shows. And we love people to learn, right? So to learn, you need to hear it and hear it and hear it yet again. So the audios are available at Spreaker, Spotify, Zeeker, iHeartRadio, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Audible. And head to BHN TV station as well. Now we've got lots of fulfillment centers for you in the US, Canada, and Australia. Simply go to one website, shopdodnow.com, and you'll be able to get your orders shipped to you. Now, if you love advertising Doc of Detox, if you can't stop talking about it, all these incredible products, right? We want to help reward you. Affiliate partner, sign up at docofdetoxpartner.com. Earn referrals on those, earn commissions on the referrals at docofdetoxstore.com. Now, if you're already a health professional and you are selling products either online or in person, we'd love for you to have a wholesale account. So sign up with Doc of Detox to be a wholesale buyer. Talk directly to Dr. Daryl Wolfe, 469-861-9454, toll free. Daryl is extension 5 on the toll-free line, 855-900-4544, extension 5, or email office.docofdetox@gmail.com. Now, if you are some sort of a practitioner and you're ready to step into this world of Doc of Detox, this is what you're interested in dodpowerpack.com. You can see the picture of the cell sonic regeneration. You can see Sage teaching the Wolfe Non-Surgical, and then you can see the cardio med bed. So with the purchase of these energy medicine devices that will change your patients' lives and change your life for sure, you get a free 23-day professional training. And as usual, we've got this financing available that actually just came up not too long ago. So whether you're interested in the courses or you're interested in the Power Pack Clinic, you are going to see links there on both these websites, dodpowerpack.com and bhnuniversity.com. DoD 5-star World Healing and Training Retreat. Head to this website, DoD5, that's the number 5star.com, and get your healing and training booked. Here's a nice picture to show you the space that we've got, the pool that's available, and there's someone doing the Wolfe Non-Surgical, all in beautiful Ixtapa, Zihuatanejo, Mexico. Now, if you can't get down to this tropical location, or you can't get to Stuart, Florida, where they're teaching the course, Dr. Sage Wolfe can come to you to do these personal certifications or personal trainings. Give them a call. They will design your program to be whatever you need. You're going to give Dr. Dara Wolfe a call again at these numbers, extension 5 on the toll-free line, 855-900-4544. And the US direct line at 469-861-9454. bhnuniversity.com is your spot to go for any of these courses, events, and here is this slide to show you the pricing for the courses. Whole Life Health Certified is a 9-day course for $39.95. The Wolfe Non-Surgical Certified is a 12-day course for $4,900. Put those two together, and that's what we call the New World Practitioner Certified, 21-day course for $8,000. And then the Pelvic Restoration and Disease Prevention for women only, because unfortunately we're the only ones with a vagina, right? So that is a 3-day course, 3-day masterclass for $1197. So get to BHN University now and unleash your healing. Like I said before, we've got financing available for the DoD Power Pack or for the course load. And then if you are kind of at the beginning and you're like, yeah, maybe I want to get there, but I know I need to get things straightened out for myself. So we've got perfect day consultations available to you, either with Dr. Dara Wolfe directly for $250. And that's honestly, guys, that's about half price, right? So you're going to call his assistant to get that booked, 855-900-4544, extension 1, or his Cynthia, her direct line is 250-980-0554. Now, if you want a consultation with someone like myself, you're like, hey, I just want to get going, I want to get my feet wet, you can book with someone like myself on perfectdayconsultation.com. Full price is $150, and go there and check it out. It still might be on for $95. Now, if you love all the sayings that Dr. Dara Wolfe has come up, and if this is the creed of your new vision for life, right here is some of these very exciting clothing options. Get off your knees. We rise together, right? Crack that coconut. One world, one love, one law. We've 3-2-1, you've got this. And patient to healer and healer to doctor. So we've got sweatshirts, t-shirts, hoodies, and caps with the logos on the cap. So it is really fun. You will pay shipping on these items because they are coming from a vendor, but head to docofdetoxstore.com to get your merchandise. And let's just head right for the perfect day guide. All of this information, product information, protocol information, and probably about 50 pages of just theory of what Dr. Dara Wolfe teaches is available in a free download. Go to pdgfree.com for your gift of healing. And if you like the printed version, we've got you. It's in the store. The manual is $95 US. When you go to pdgfree.com, you're also going to see a link for the Healthy to 100 to take your power back. And then if you do like the printed version, this is also available on the store as well. So this whole show is here to help you understand the only permanent healthcare is self-care. The only permanent love is self-love. What an incredible show we had today. I knew a lot of those things about iodine, but to put it together to understand that this is the only clean and safe and complete oral vaccine is amazing. And thankfully, we're hooked up with a company that keeps looking forward, keeps looking to get this information verified and getting more people to understand it, right? Because that is absolutely key. Yes, so let's just close the show. Let's realize that once you learn how to rise to your full potential, this means you've first loved yourself and you've learned how to fly. We are much stronger together. We rise together, and you need to go to bhnuniversity.com or bhnapp.com to get fully connected in to what all we teach. Really happy to have been here with you. And again, remember, how are really high quality shows like this really not going to get censored? I imagine it will be. So for you to get access to the freedom, the health, and the healing, our message is to free the world. So go to bhnapp.com to stay connected and unite as we share these truths and teach. We might become out of reach on Facebook. All right, let's move to the Braveheart Oath. Take a breath, everybody. Hand on heart. Dr. Server taught us yesterday that this helps the communication of that calcium therapy. Let's just really sink in this wisdom and knowledge that Philip has shared with us today. I am love. I am healed. I am Braveheart. Today and every day, from the moment I rise until I gently close my eyes, I will always trust, honor, respect, protect, forgive, and totally love myself, first and foremost, before anyone else or anything else. So help me God, because I can, I am love, I am healed, I am Braveheart, and I am all in for me. And we trust with this information that you will be all in for you. 3, 2, 1, you've got this. Until we meet again.